In this article, there is a way to, represent the nation or to represent the president. Has been called by Professor Muhammadu Buhari, the political scientist. A Nigerian president is, by definition, a politician. In his letter to the National Assembly detailing his reasons for not assenting to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2021. However, President Muhammadu Buhari spoke not just as a president but also as a political scientist. In fact, reading the letter, I thought the president is giving our professors of political science a run for their money. In the five-page letter, Buhari advanced seven arguments against the provision in the bill for direct primaries. His sole reason for dissenting a bill that contains other equally significant provisions. The president said that direct primaries will entail unbearable cost for all stakeholders, INEC, political parties, candidates, that this cost will further fuel corruption and monetization of our electoral system. That direct primaries will increase security challenges and limit the freedom of choice for parties and candidates. And finally, that direct primaries will increase litigations of election outcomes since they are not free of manipulation and malpractices either. Eh? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I don't really understand this English. Well, to go further, these are all very cogent arguments supported by extant political science. Even if one disagrees with some or all of them, there is no theory or issue in political science with which everyone agrees. The requirement for serious ideas or arguments in political science is not a perfection or consensus, but reason, logic, and evidence. The president's letter scores high in all of this. And unlike the error strain report of a judicial panel led by a retired judge only a few weeks ago, the president wrote in a script, clear and concise language. Well, surveying the uproar that has poured forth on the pages of newspapers, on social media, posts and comments, and on radio and television programs. However, you might think the president was actually involved in some egregious scandal. He wasn't. Yes, he was merely doing his job by withholding assent to a bill, something any president will do from time to time. Well, as it is, I would say, given the push and pull politics that go with policy making and legislation in a democracy, where necessary, withholding assent to a bill is part of president's job, regardless of how others receive it, and only the president has the power and prerogative to decide what is necessary. It means in the preceding sentence, but to better understanding or to understand that letter and the president's professorial thinking is this instance, we need to first to explain the form and substance of the historical reactions that followed the president's action. Well, in no time and in a nutshell, I would say President Muhammadu is only reading the script, being written for him to read out. I really believe Buhari do not, know his left from his right. What that simply means is that Buhari, cannot really, differentiate between electoral bill or electronic transmission of bill, electoral bill, and the direct primaries or indirect primaries. What I know is that Buhari or President Buhari, has no prowess of his own. I believe he's just a school sat older according to him, and I believe Buhari do not have the school certificate he claimed he has. That is just part of what is disturbing Buhari. And in other words, I would say Buhari has dementia and also is incoherent, which simply means he either stammering or is forgetful. Although the legislative politics is painstaking and not straightforward. Unfortunately, our media and civil society organizations are generally familiar with and have rather a straight jacket and a simplistic assumption about the politics of policy and legislation. People genuinely expect a president to give assent to a bill merely because they favor its provisions, and are therefore shocked to see that that has not happened. In this sense, the uproar that has followed Buhari's refusal to sign the bill is by itself an indictment of the National Assembly. If our lawmakers had been in the serious business of proposing and making groundbreaking legislations, the back and forth politics involved would be familiar, and family or people would not cry foul merely because a president has a different view about the place of direct primaries in our electoral system. Well, more broadly, Nigerians have an autopilot understanding of a democratic politics and system. We expect democracy to work swiftly and smoothly without any hitches, like a train driving itself. But that is fantasy, not reality. Democratic politics is an aggregation of often very different and conflicting interests, and no one gets all of what they want and all of the time, and not the president and not the legislature, and certainly not the citizens or those who speak on their behalf. You win some and you lose some, you gain some and you lost some. The president has won this time, well, but it is not necessarily a permanent victory, because it is not the end of the process. It doesn't mean that the process starts or will not start all over again, and so what. Anyone familiar with the legislative politics of abortion, gun control, healthcare, election financing, appropriations and taxes, and many more between Congress and the White House in the United States, for example, would have seen something similar play out 1,000 times. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, signed by former President Obama in 2010, without support from a single Republican lawmaker, had been in Congress in one form or the other. Since the days of President Truman in the late 1940s, it was killed and reborn several times by previous presidents and congresses, and no one knows if it could still survive the next but notwithstanding, this is the article that has really faulted itself. I would say Buhari has contradicted himself. Is he a professor? Is the president? But I can really say vividly and eat myself on the chest and say, Buhari, do not really understand what he has done, because as it is, I believe he always read paper. He reads every write-up they give to him. Well, thank God he can still read and write, but does he really understand what he is reading? Just for him to just come represent the country either locally or internationally. That's what I've been saying, several times, that Buhari is just representing Nigeria, while the Malami, the Attorney General of the Federation, is presiding over the issues of Nigeria. Just watch any speech Buhari will give, you will notice that the name of Malami or his position will be mentioned in that article. Malami this, the Minister of Justice, or the Attorney General of the Federation. Just watch these three things that I've mentioned. Definitely Malami is behind all this write-up and is the Attorney General of the Federation. That's why I said he is presiding over Nigeria affair, or the affair of Nigeria, while Buhari represents us in diaspora, international organization, and locally. Yes, just ponder, or let me hear your comments in the comment section. Let's see how you are going to react to this. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.